Okay, now that we're back, we can move on with the whole project now that you've seen where we're going to be starting from. That we are one step closer to our garage makeover. It is going to look very different than this when we're done. So it occurred to me that given the fact that we bought new tools for this whole project, I'd film a quick unboxing. The actual thing. I saw this, which given the fact that eventually I'm gonna have an actual workbench on both sides, as you guys can see from the drawing here in SketchUp, until then, I needed some way to actually, use the miter saw. So I saw this, they have it, it's called the Universal Miter Saw Quick Stand. I literally have no idea about this thing other than the fact that when I went to look for a miter saw, this came up as a people also bought. So being as that we're going to be doing a lot of projects, we're going to unbox this thing and see exactly what comes inside, how quick it is to set up, and then we'll go ahead and unbox the miter saw next, which is what this is meant for, and we'll see how we can use it. Alright, and here's the accompanying saw. Not expect it to be this heavy. So this is the higher amperage one. They do have a 10-inch, which is a lower amps, lower watts. We went with this one. We would have gotten the 12-inch, but unfortunately the 12-inch was out of stock. Price difference is $50. Maybe the extra 2-inch, the capabilities of the extra 2-inch blade might be more up your alley. It's only a $50 difference. We would have gotten the 12-inch if it had been in stock. But because we absolutely needed to have the stuff the day we selected it in order to get it delivered for this weekend. Now, the rest of the unboxing of the saw is pretty straightforward. The only two loose things were the supports for the actual piece you're cutting, but since I have the stand, I won't need those. It's going to be supported on the outsides of the stand, and the hardware that's included with the universal stand itself is what you use to bolt the saw down to actually use it on your work surface. Working on now is, if you see in the background, there is actually where the outlet is, there's a power conduit tube running up the wall, and in order to be able to get the 2x4 to lay flush against the wall, I'm notching the back. Since it is 2 inches deep, I can actually notch a little bit out of the back and still have room for the 2x4 to remain in one piece. At this point, I started focusing on actually cutting all of the different legs that I would use as the front support of the actual workbench. Okay, so I should point out, I'm sorry that I missed. And it's one of those things where you wish you had caught it on camera. Now, of course, since it's not on camera, it's up to you to believe it. I know what it was. I find it ridiculously pleasing that literally by pure coincidence, that piece happens to be perfectly level. So, take it for what it is. I think it's hilarious. So the next step was very easy. I had a simple drill bit on the drill that I had marked to make sure I didn't go so far through my drill that I went into the masonry in the wall. And then I swapped between a masonry bit on the impact driver and a hex bit on the impact driver so that I could simply drive the actual tap cons through once I had made the holes, and the impact driver coped with drilling into the masonry a lot better than the drill did in terms of battery life. So since I already have the one 2x4 on the actual wall mounted, I was able to use that plus the clamps and the level basically to mount the wood, and then I was able to just kick a 2x4 into the corner just to actually get the object perfectly straight. And honestly, these clamps have saved my bacon, and when it comes to building in midair in a few minutes, you're going to see how I'm able to clamp a structure together to actually get it to stand while I fasten it. What I'm building now is effectively a corner template to build out this piece I'm showing you here on SketchUp, because I didn't realize that the point I was trying to get to was basically in 3D space because I hadn't built either side of the structure yet. So I had to clamp everything together on one of the legs to form kind of a point in space where I could actually begin attaching everything, and then this would form the inner corner of the table. So with that piece in place, I'm able to clamp a 2x4 in the corner to lay the next 8-foot piece and clamp a leg onto it at the end. Measuring here and getting everything level here is what's important to make sure that I have a true flat surface. And as I promised, I did remember to start moving the camera up close so that you guys could see from a better angle what it is I'm working on. This is pretty much how I'm going to continue the rest of the build so that you guys are able to see exactly the details, the measurements, everything I'm trying to do in order to build out this structure. So here I'm getting ready to measure the final piece for the front of the workbench. I'm able to clamp down the extensions of the table saw and move the saw independent of the table, which is really good for balancing your workload. So the next thing we're about to play with is actually the, let me get this name right, the pocket hole jig. So this is a really cool product. It's from Craig. I bought basically the beginner one. It actually comes with so that you can basically set up the jig so you can do 2 holes at once. You can buy it where it's just for 1 hole, but this one comes with the bit and it comes with the little measurement tool, gets you all set. It's really nice. This is really awesome for whenever you need to attach pieces and you want to hide the screws, either by simply putting them on the side that is not visible, or you can actually buy the wood inserts for the holes produced by the drill bit, and they can actually be, you can basically just kind of like tap them into place after you've put your fasteners in, sand them down, paint it, and then effectively your project is held together with completely invisible screws. This is the section that we've got built so far. So what we're missing is this corner piece, which is what is going to go there. We've got this ladder section, this ladder section. Now I did end up with these legs not necessarily in the places I wanted because of where the 8-foot section joined the shorter side. So I ended up with one here. At the very least, I think I should put another 2x4 here to support this, because right now this is basically floating. If for any reason, any weight that I put here, it's gonna be on the screws, not on the ground, which is how this weight is going straight down. Now, right now I'm gonna figure out this piece here, which should be easy. I mean, it's a 90 degree. I can cut the angles on the miter saw, no problem. And then that'll give me more area there. So before I moved on to actually doing this leg, I had measured out the other 21-inch pieces that would be the internal support for the actual workbench. And here I'm using them. So the thing that I found the easiest to do was to simply put a 2x4 sideways on the bottom to give myself a ledge to place the 2x4 on top. And then with the pocket hole screws, I could simply screw the 2x4 runner into the piece along the back. And at one point I did put it on the top just to make sure that I wasn't putting them too high. The 2x4 acting kind of like basically a block to put the wood exactly where I wanted, to make sure that I had a consistently flat surface all the way across. Once I had a pattern established, it was really easy to keep going. I'm actually notching the piece out little by little on the miter saw itself, and then I flipped it up just to make sure everything was flat. There's a little piece that lets you lock the blade so it won't go any lower, and I got that set perfectly. Now came the part where we're gonna have to cut the backsplash into 2 pieces. By doing this, it means that I could basically notch each side. I did take a little bit longer to take the correct amount of material out of the piece on the right, but the end piece did end up being the exact same length as the piece on the bottom, which was my goal. I didn't want to have any discrepancies in the length. I just wanted to get around that little junction box. Now doing the backsplash on the other side was much easier since it was just going to be one simple cut. The only downside was that I had this little speaker hanger that I had built kind of in the way, so I kind of had to get all these pieces out. Now for this piece, it was pretty straightforward. The only thing that was really in the way was the outlet and the switch, which I used a low voltage plate normally for a networking cable to give it a placeholder to actually support the outlet and the switch. I did it without turning the power off because I did have gloves on, and the outlet and switch were actually wrapped, so the contacts weren't exposed. The low voltage plate was a place to actually attach the outlet and switch to, and to give the wall plate something to attach to. I'm not going to be leaving the white wall plates on there permanently. They were just placeholders and something just to get this section finished. This is just the first phase in assembly. The polish of everything where we add on the finishing touches is going to come later on the road. So now, hours into this, into today, we have the substructure complete. The substructure. So that is the entirety of the bracing underneath, which we have pictured here. Didn't quite end up exactly the way I wanted because of the way I ended up building it out. The most difficult thing that I think we're gonna run into today, I gotta set it up to effectively just cut the 8x4 sheet. So we're gonna cut it to 65 inches long, and then we'll mark it where we have to do the cuts to actually get this shape out. And it should come out about 48 inches since it's 8x4, you know, nominally. And then once we do that one, we can do the other, which if I remember correctly, should be 3 pieces. Now, something I didn't take into account, just how much better of a tool a router would have been than the jigsaw, the circular saw, and the sander. Honestly, it would have been more useful than the table saw at this point. None of them is going back. It's just going to be an additional tool that I'm going to add to the arsenal, and I do plan on making use of that in the very near future. Thanks to measure twice or measure 100 times, and they did cut once, I was able to get it to the correct length. And then once I clamped a guide in, taking into account the width of the blade, I was able to make the first pass to get it pretty much right to where I needed it, and then make one more quick pass just to shave off the little excess. And with that, it's done.